I got this fall wreath on clearance at Dollar General. Now fall is over, but I'm going to turn it into something that I can use now. So when you're out looking for crafting supplies, don't forget to look at those clearance items because you can definitely repurpose them for your current projects. And I'm going to take all of these pieces off and put them aside and use them on a later project. I pre-cut this circle out of cardboard, and this printable I got from hammondsnest.com. And I have this leftover piece of contact paper that I'm going to use to cover up the back side of that circle because it got that little sticker on it and it just keeps me from having to paint it. Then I'm using my mini sander to smooth the edges. I'm putting on a layer of Mod Podge to adhere my printout, and I just printed this on plain printer paper. And then I'm applying a top layer of Mod Podge over that, working from the center out to the edges. Now once I get it covered, I'm just going back over it with long strokes so that it dries evenly. Once that glue is completely dry, I'm going to use this antique wax to kind of age my project, and I'm also camouflaging those edges where the white could show through when I attach my wreath. And then I'm going to use this wet wipe to kind of wipe back some of that wax. I want my image to still show through pretty well, but I want the edges to look kind of weathered. Now it may look a little weird here, but once I attach that wreath, it's going to look nice on those inside edges, so just trust the process. Only that center part is going to show. While that's drying, I'm going to make my bow. I usually use a jute string, but today I'm going to use some Bodabra wire because I saw a neat trick that I want to try. I'm going to use some burlap ribbon I got from Dollar General, and then this red and tan material, some muslin that's coffee stained, and some black and white material. I ripped my material into 12-inch strips, and then I cut that burlap ribbon at about 36 inches. For my bows, I typically use about 12 inches per set of loops. Since this is going to be the base of my bow, I wanted about 3 sets of loops to start with. So here I'm just making my loop, scrunching it down into the center of my holder, twisting it, and repeating that process until I use the entire length of my ribbon. Now I'm going to start layering in my material. I'm going to place the center of the strip into the holder and fold the ends over to make the loops. And sometimes I do alternate whether I want the ends to land at the bottom or the top of my bow. And once I have all 3 colors on, I'm going to repeat that process one more time. And you can definitely make these bows without this tool, but for me the Bodabra just kind of gives me an extra set of hands and holds all my pieces nice and tight until I'm ready to tie them together. Now since I doubled that wire, I can just stick my loose ends through that loop and cinch it tight, flip it over, and tie the wire in a knot to secure my bow pieces together. And that was the little trick I mentioned earlier, and I think it worked out really good. Now I'm just going to spend some time separating my layers and fluffing out my bow. I'm going to kind of trim some of those ends that are hanging over too far. You can also, during this time, pull on your ends to adjust the size of your loops if you need to. It's pretty adjustable, so you can just keep kind of playing with it and messing with it until you get it just the way that you like it. And now I have a bow that's going to coordinate nicely with my image. And before I attach the wreath, I'm going to go ahead and staple this hanger onto the cardboard piece. Then I'm going to use some hot glue to attach my wreath at the top and the bottom and on the sides. And then also I'm going to go around the edges and make sure it's nice and secure. Now it's time to add some greenery. I have this rosemary pick that I'm going to cut a couple pieces off of. And then I also have some of this Christmas greenery that I'm going to use. I'm just kind of arranging it to see how I like it, how it looks with my bow. And once I get it how I like it, I'm going to use the zip tie to secure it together before I glue it onto my wreath. And then I'm going to use some hot glue to kind of temporarily adhere it to where it needs to be on my wreath. Now to add my bow, I'm going to take some floral wire and stick it through, and then I'm going to loop it around that bottom loop of my bow, and it's going to secure my bow really nicely and the greenery that I put on before. Then I'm going to take some smaller pieces of that same greenery and glue it in the layers of my bow. And once I have all of those pieces secure, I'm going to add some white berries in. I'm going to just add them in some different places among the greenery, and I think they are a really nice touch because the print that I used also has some white berries. You don't always have to, but sometimes it's nice if you kind of coordinate your picture with your embellishments. And I also added a piece of rosemary and some berries to the center of my bow. And here's how it turned out. And you can just see how some of that shadowing with the antiquing wax around the edges really makes that image pop in the center. I've really been wanting to get in a cardinal project for this season, and I'm so happy with how this one turned out. I can't wait to see what you think in the comments, and don't forget to share it around. Have a blessed day.